Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and I really do not like holiday shopping. I've never been good at picking out gifts for anyone else, and I can honestly never seem to come up with any good ideas for myself either. So today, before we get into the holiday season, I decided to put together a whole list of stuff that I've either purchased myself over the years or received through my partnership with Rocky Mountain ADV. The stuff that I've been using and really been enjoying or finding useful or helpful. So if you guys have somebody in your life that is also interested in the outdoors and dual sport motorcycle riding, I think all of this stuff would be a great gift for them. Of course, if you are maybe interested in some of this stuff, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to send this video to somebody who maybe needs some gift ideas for you. So we'll just take a quick look at each item. I'll sort of tell you what I like about it, and then I'll put links for each item down in the description and also in the top pinned comment. Those are affiliate links. They don't cost you guys anything extra, but the channel makes a small commission off of it, which is, well, about a third of the income for this channel. And since I'm doing this full time, I certainly appreciate when you guys take the time to use those links. Huge thanks to anybody that has been. You don't even have to buy anything specifically on this list. If you just click any of the links and then find something else that piques your interest, if you make a purchase after clicking on the link, I make again a small commission off of it. So huge thanks to you guys. I really have been enjoying doing this full time, and I look forward to hopefully doing the same thing in 2025. So let's take a look at this stuff and see if we can't find you guys something good. So the first thing is actually something that I purchased last year for my brother for Christmas and bought myself one as well. It is a rechargeable arc plasma lighter, which is really kind of a neat thing. It's about the size of a Zippo lighter, maybe a little bit larger. It's got a locking mechanism on it so you don't accidentally zap yourself. It does give you a pretty good shock and a decent burn, so definitely be careful of that. But it is waterproof because of the case here. There's a seal that goes around the perimeter. It is windproof because there's no flame to blow out or anything. It's just an arc of electricity at high voltage passing between the 4 different points. Shuts off after a couple seconds. It's also got a button on the side here to turn the little light panel on the front. You can have either high, low, or for some reason a strobe. I don't know why anybody thinks that we need this. That part has never been anything but annoying, but the rest of it has been really pretty cool. It's easy to recharge. There's just a USB-C plug on the back, so you don't have to worry about carrying fuel. You don't have to worry about it possibly discharging the fuel in your pocket or your bag or anything. It should pretty much always be ready to go, and if it's not, it should be pretty easy to charge if you've got a USB-C cable to charge your phone or any other devices. So certainly a good thing to bring along on an adventure. This clip here that's meant for a belt loop can also easily be clipped on to a shirt like so. So when I'm going out to put the chickens away at the end of the night, a lot of times I'll just grab this and stick it on either my collar or my pants or something. Really is kind of helpful. I suppose you could even probably stick it up there, and that would definitely work as a headlamp. I mean, it's really just kind of a neat thing to have around. So link for it down in the description. And since it of course wouldn't be Christmas without socks, I've got my favorite pair of dual sport ADV socks. These are 50% merino wool, and if you guys haven't heard anything about merino wool, it's nothing like the old wool sweaters that you might be thinking of. These are the most comfortable pair of socks that I own, regardless of whether we're talking riding socks or not. I really, really like these. They're nice and thick and warm, but not hot and itchy in any sense. They're super comfy. Definitely can wear them all day. They're moisture wicking. That merino wool sort of helps keep them fresh, meaning not so stinky. I've worn other riding socks, and these are definitely my favorite. And of course, to go along with the socks, why not give a pair of underwear? So here we've got the MSR Performance Base Layer shirt and the pants. As it says down in the details here, they have a very low profile seam, so they don't get sort of up against your legs and cause you any discomfort when they're tucked into boots. They dry fast, they're breathable, they're also antimicrobial. They also seem to sort of help regulate your temperature and kind of protect you from any of your armored gear. So I try to put this on basically anytime I go out, whether it's just a single layer of this underneath my MSR Explorer gear or maybe the mid layer on top of it. I was personally never a huge believer in Under Armour or this type of thing until I started using it, and it really is some nice stuff to have. This next one is something that really everybody should have, and I'm a little ashamed to say that it was a long time before I actually started bringing a first aid kit along on every ride. Tusk used to offer one that was a bit less expensive than this, and I really wish that I could give you guys the link to that, but unfortunately they have discontinued it, so I just grabbed this one. There's lots of great options out there, and I'm sure some of you know way more about about first aid than I do, but it does seem like this one has quite a few good things in it here. Definitely worth kind of going through this list and comparing it to anything else that you can find out there. You're not going to need any of this stuff until all of a sudden you do, and then you're possibly in the middle of the woods and bleeding all over the place. So this is definitely, I think, going to be something that you should pack along on every ride and hopefully never need, but it is definitely nice to know that it's there. This next thing is also sort of along the same lines, definitely something that could be helpful in an emergency. Again, hopefully something that you never need, but is something that is incredibly useful. If you guys watched the video where I was having some problems with the DR650, the battery was essentially completely dead, had no lights with the ignition on even, so I plugged this into the battery, hit the on button, and turned the key, and the bike fired up like it had a brand new battery in it. So definitely a good thing to have in a situation where you maybe run into an issue and have a dead battery on the trail. Maybe it's not even your bike, maybe it's somebody else's. It's definitely nice to have this. It sure beats trying to bump start a bike. Beyond that, it's got a little flashlight on it. It also has the ability to run even a CarPlay unit like I have been with the old version of this a couple times. It can also charge a cell phone or any other type of device. And the cable that it comes with can be used to charge it, but also can turn around and be used in the outside of the power bank, and then you can use one of the 3 cables that are attached to the end of it to charge whatever type of device you need. It's something that I've personally used both at the house and while we're out on adventures, and I think is something, again, that is really probably a good idea for anybody that's heading out into the woods, especially by themselves, to have. It's light and compact enough that I bring it on all of my adventures. I've usually just got it in the back pocket of my Rover vest here. It fits really nicely inside of one of these, and this is a little bit more expensive and possibly overkill for some. I really like having all the different pockets. The line coming down here is from a hydration pouch that sits in the innermost portion here. You can see it coming out of the back. So that provides me with more than enough drinking water for a decently long day of riding, plus gives me lots of places to put tons of other gear. I used to always stick my keys, phone, and wallet in my pants pockets or even in my coat pockets, but a lot of times when you're on a bike, you're sort of hunched over or, you know, possibly having to move around standing up, so that stuff can kind of get in your way, getting that up and off of your lower body and out of your pockets. I've really been enjoying. If you're looking for something a little bit smaller than that, they do have options that do allow some storage but aren't necessarily as bulky and still have the availability to have the same amount of water. And of course, being hydrated while you're out on a ride is extremely important, both for your physical abilities but also for your mental abilities. One thing that I do really like about the Rover vest though is it's got this tool pouch that comes with it on the backside here and then gets strapped up to these 2 straps here. So if you don't have any places to store tools on your bike, then you can carry that weight around on your back. If you don't want to do that, it does come off, and then you can just use these same straps to clip it to a tail rack or right on top of a Tusk dry bag like I've done a few times. It really works great for that, and you can store a surprising amount of stuff in it here, and I will put a link to everything that I've got in here. I'm not going to go over it all now, but I've got quite a bit of stuff in here. The adjustable wrench right here will get large enough that I can undo just about any axle bolt that I've come across anyways, which is super nice, so I'll have a link for that. I've got just some regular old electrical tape down in the bottom here, but up at the top I've got some new self-adhering silicone wrap from Tusk, which seems like it should be kind of a nice thing. Apparently you can just wrap it around a leaky radiator hose. Hopefully we'll never have to use it, but definitely makes me feel a little bit better having it. As the little picture on here suggests, this is a magnetic strip, so hopefully if things go flying, you at least have a few nuts and bolts left stuck to this. I've also got this little mini carburetor tool that comes with a few different attachments for adjusting air screws on the bottom side of a carb. Small enough that it should let you get underneath a carburetor while it's on the bike, so you don't have to spin it or anything. Really kind of a neat tool. And of course, some zip ties and other things. And if you're looking for a little bit more storage beyond that, the Tusk Olympus tank bag here has got to be one of my favorite pieces of gear, and honestly is something that I really sort of resisted for a lot of years until I tried the first one out on the Tenere 700, and now I need one on any bike that I take out. I feel like I can't live without it. It's the perfect place for anything that you need at your fingertips on a ride. I really like that I can get into it without getting off of the bike like I used to have to do when I would store everything in a tail bag. bag. It's also sort of nice to have the tail section clean on the bikes, especially when I'm riding a little bit harder trails off-road. And even though the Tusk bags aren't incredibly expensive, they really are pretty feature rich and have things like a pass-through for a cable if you're charging something or possibly running a CarPlay unit off of a power bank inside of it. Whether you're purchasing it for yourself or gifting it to someone else, I would find it very hard to believe that you wouldn't enjoy having one of these things. They can certainly get in the way just a little bit when you're standing up off-road, but to be honest, it's a small price to pay for the awesome amount of convenience that it provides. I've got the black and gray on all my bikes, but they do also come in black and tan now, and as far as sizing goes, I've got the large on both the DR650 and the XR650. That's also the same size that I had on the Tenere 700 and the KLR. I do really enjoy the amount of storage space that they provide, but I've got to say that the smaller size does seem to fit the 701 Enduro just a little bit better. And while I can't store near as much as the large, it certainly beats riding without one. Now, the next thing here is actually something that I get questions about a lot, and that is the lift that I use underneath my bikes. This one actually comes with a little dolly that the jack sort of fits down in. It drops down to 4.7 inches and can be raised up to 15.4. And obviously for the price here, this certainly isn't something that's going to be super high quality. I would highly suggest taking this thing apart and putting thread locker on absolutely every single fastener. When I purchased mine, which isn't even the same brand, they sort of cycle through different brand names. It's just sort of how this stuff on Amazon works. But when I got mine, I found at least a couple fasteners sort of rolling around in the packaging. So definitely not something that you want to lift a 1,000-pound bike up with without knowing for sure that nothing's going to rattle apart on you. And with that in mind, it honestly wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe check the fasteners every once in a while. But other than that, this lift has been working great for me, and I've had it forever now. It's really nice to be able to get the back tire up in the air when you're cleaning the chain. I would certainly never suggest turning the bike on or running it in gear when it's on this lift. Should never do that. It's a great way to lose a finger. But just having the back tire off of the ground can help with so many different things, from chain maintenance to cleaning to really just about anything you need to do with the bike. It doesn't get it incredibly high up in the air like the Tusk scissor lift here would, and I do really like this lift. However, it's only rated for a bike that weighs about 300 pounds, which is really kind of unfortunate because I do really like this lift. It's so nice to have the bike up in the air, sort of at eye level almost, so you're not always bending over to work on it. The only other complaint I have about it is really that it is kind of tall. Any of the bikes that I've got around here that I would want to get up on it, it would really need about 3 people to pick up to get it onto the lift. But again, that's kind of why this is my go-to. It's also much less expensive. Now, this next one here is also something that I get a lot of questions on, and that is the Tusk tire change stand. This thing is really pretty nice to have. If you're somebody like me that changes a couple tires a season, this is definitely much better than working on the ground all the time. I would never want to go back to doing that. However, if you're somebody that is only going to change a set of tires every couple of years, this probably isn't something you really need. But after seeing how much better it is to work with something like this than on the ground, I'd certainly have been spoiled and would not want to do it any other way. The Tusk wheel balancing and tuning stand is also another one of those things that I sort of feel like I wouldn't want to try to work without. Before I got a hold of one of these things, I certainly made do balancing tires with some wood or some cardboard boxes. I mean, you can really figure just about anything out. However, if again, you're going to be doing it more than a couple times a season, this is certainly a nice tool to have. The tuning part is really nice too. I've not yet had to actually adjust any spokes, but if I was ever going to have to do that, I would certainly want something like this. It was really nice to know that I didn't actually wreck my front tire on the 701 when I smashed it into a rock after coming off of a jump. So really just, again, kind of a cool thing to have if you're into doing this sort of stuff yourself and you plan on doing it a lot. The Motion Pro bead breaker spoons is also something that I would not want to change a set of tires without. Once in a while you get a set of tires that do seem to just sort of fall off of the rim and you don't have to break the bead really at all. But a lot of times, especially if a tire has been on a rim for a long time, they are really hard to convince to come back off. And sure, there are things you can use like C-clamps to persuade the tire to come off of the bead, but these tools are really pretty nice. We definitely had a bit of an issue trying to get the old Motaz Tractionator Adventure off of my dad's Tenere 700 rear rim, which had been on there for 8,000 or 9,000 miles or something, so it was definitely glued on. But between this and some of the Yamaha tire lube, we, well, made do anyways. It certainly wasn't an easy job, job, but it definitely would have been much more difficult without these things. Now this next one here is unfortunately out of stock and has been for a while, and I think that's probably because people are really excited to see this. For 16 bucks you can have a set of JIS screwdrivers, and if you guys are unfamiliar, JIS is Japanese Industrial Standard, and it is actually what those fasteners are on your bike that look like Phillips but don't ever seem to really work quite right. And if you guys are unfamiliar, a Phillips screwdriver is actually meant to sort of kick its way out once a certain torque is reached, which is why you have to press so hard, where these actually sort of lock into the fasteners, so you can get a lot more torque when you're either putting the fastener into the bike or trying to get it back out. And if you guys have ever ran into a situation where you're trying to remove the two little fasteners that hold a brake reservoir on, you know that it can be a real pain in the butt trying to do with a regular old Phillips. And if you're like me, you've probably stripped a few over the years, where with these, I think you'd have a lot better chance of getting those things out without stripping them. So definitely something that anybody that works on a metric bike should have in their toolkit. I've also had some of you guys ask about the T-handle stuff that I've been using, so I'll put links for those down in the description. Here we've got a set of deep well sockets. Comes with a 6, an 8, a 10, a 12, 13, and 14. They've also got the hex key set, which really is quite helpful. These have also a variety of different sizes listed there. And if you've got something like my 701 in the garage, you might also need a Torx set. They're all relatively inexpensive and certainly nice tools to have. Next, we've got the Tusk First Line Gloss Coat. This type of thing is something that I sort of always turn my nose up at until I sprayed it on the XR650L this season and realized how much better it makes the bike look. It almost adds a sort of a new bike shine. It definitely makes the bike a little bit slippery, so you certainly want to be careful where you're spraying it. But if you're somebody or know somebody that enjoys a nice new shiny looking motorcycle, this certainly is a great way to do it and isn't really all that expensive. You can buy either a single 11-ounce can, or they do also come in a 12 or a 6-pack. And depending on how heavily you spray it on, it seems like you should be able to get at least a couple different coats out of a single can. Next, we've got the MSR Packable Rain Jacket and Rain Pants. And when they say packable, they mean packable. This is it. This is, I think, the coat, and I believe these are the pants. No, actually, this is the coat and that's the pants, I think. I don't remember. They're certainly small enough to pack just about anywhere you need them, and while I wouldn't necessarily need them with the MSR Explorer gear that I wear on most of my rides, they definitely could come in handy if you are camping and don't want to get soaked. They also could be pretty helpful when I'm just wearing my strictly off-road gear here, which I really also have come to like, and I don't think would be a half bad gift. This stuff is similar to motocross gear, however, it's made a little bit more for off-road use. It's not padded, but it's got pockets in it, which are definitely a nice thing to have. And the way that they've got this kind of on the side of your leg doesn't seem to interfere near as much as having keys or a phone in jean pockets. That would be a little bit higher up. And if you guys are unfamiliar, this is all just really breathable material that sort of makes it feel like you're wearing, well, just about nothing, but yet still provides a bit of abrasion resistance. I do wish that they had some actual padding in them, but you could, of course, supply your own. And since we're on that topic, I figure we might as well go through a few of my favorite glove options that I've been wearing recently. So these are, again, sort of an off-road only glove. And I personally think a great gift for somebody who maybe just has a pair of on-road gloves. These are super thin, super breathable. They've got a bunch of little perforations in the palms that you can kind of see there a little bit. So they breathe really well. They also give you a lot more feeling of both the grips themselves and the clutch and the brake. Really the right thing to have if you're going to be doing any sort of aggressive off-road riding. The next step up from that for some road riding on, again, sort of hotter days are the MSR ADV Air gloves. A couple seasons ago, I was using their old Air gloves, which I definitely had some complaints about, and they've pretty much addressed all of those with these. These are super comfy. They have D3O armor in them, which is some of the little orange bits that you can maybe see poking through there a bit. Essentially, it feels sort of like soft rubber until it encounters some sort of an impact, and then it turns a little bit harder, sort of like the surface of water, and is supposedly pretty good protection. Luckily, I've never had to find out, but they do have a leather palm and a few kind of abrasion resistant portions on the high abrasion portions. These two also have some little perforations in the backside, and as you can see, the front is certainly very breathable. I also really like the pull loop that they have on these, and the next set has those as well. So these are going to be the wind block gloves, also with the D30 armor. These also have a leather palm with some extra abrasion resistance. However, they do not have any perforations. They also don't have any breathable material on the outside, hence the name wind block. They're not insulated, but they're something that I wear on the little bit cooler days. And when things turn even a little bit colder, then I go to the ADV cold weather gloves here. We are of course getting a little bit more expensive, but honestly these I think are my favorite gloves. They're just the most comfortable. They feel more like a nice soft warm snowmobile glove than anything. I mean, they really are just sort of a winter glove. They're maybe a little bit more bulky than you would like, but if you're going to ride in cold temperatures, you need a little bit of insulation. I've never really had a problem. It just takes a little bit of time to sort of acclimate to them. These also have a leather palm as well as a bit of leather and some armor on the outside. And because they are a gauntlet, they really do work quite well when you're out in really kind of cold temperatures. I would definitely suggest pairing them with an item that we'll get to in a bit here, and that's some sort of external heat. But with the grip heaters that I've been running, these are more than enough to ride in pretty darn cold temperatures. But if you are looking for something with a little bit of heat built right in, we've got the MSR Reload heated gloves and the Surge heated gloves. Also getting maybe a little bit pricey for a gift, but certainly a nice thing to have on a cold day. The less expensive ones come with a bit less armor on the backside, where the more expensive ones have a bit of sort of rubbery plastic material to protect you on the outside. Both palms are leather. The more aggressive, more expensive ones are a little bit better, higher abrasion resistant leather, where the other ones are a little bit softer. Again, maybe just a little bit more comfy. I don't know if the heating elements exactly follow the design that they've got drawn on here, if this is really more for marketing purposes, but essentially all of the heat is coming from the top side of the glove. They've got a little pouch on the inside here that the batteries go into, and then there's just a cable in here that they plug into. You just stick that back in, Velcro it up. And I've been using these for, I guess this would be the second season now, and I've never really had too much of a problem with them. The batteries seem like they're still working great this year, even though I just let them sit all summer. If you guys are unfamiliar with heated gear, the couple different colors that you're seeing here are just the different heat settings. I don't think that I would recommend running these in really, really cold temperatures unless you're also going to have, yet again, another item that I've alluded to a couple times. This is the Tusk Grip Heater Kit, and when they say kit, they really do mean kit. This is not something that I think would be a great gift for somebody who doesn't enjoy doing a bit of wiring, because this is exactly what you get here. You basically just pull your old grips off, and then these wrap around the bar end. I would highly recommend wrapping electrical tape around your clutch side bar end a few times before sticking one of these on. Otherwise, your handlebars end up turning into a bit of a heat sink, and then the throttle side that has the plastic tube on it will stay nice and warm, where your clutch side will be cold. But with the electrical tape in place, these have really always done more than a good enough job for me, even when I was out on the TW when it was 0 degrees outside. They also have this Tusk seat heater available for a pretty decent price. Again, I have not tried this yet, but I will be sticking this on both of the big bore dual sport ADV builds that I'm working on right now. Again, requires a bit of wiring, but comes with just about everything you need. And if you or the person that you're shopping for doesn't exactly like wiring, there's also options like the Oxford heaters here. I've got these on the 701 Enduro, and they certainly do seem to put out a bit more heat. They also have a lot more settings than just the high-low that the Tusk grip heaters have. They also will turn off automatically. You can just wire them direct to the battery, and once they sense a little bit of voltage drop, they'll just shut off. And I have personally let them run that way, and they do turn off, no problem. Certainly a much more plug-and-play type design. Basically just have to connect them to the battery and then run the cables and screw the terminals together. Now, like I mentioned before, the Tusk grip heaters really have been warm enough for me, especially with that electrical tape wrapped around the metal bar end, but these certainly do put out a lot more heat, and I think that's just because the elements are built right into the grips. The downside to that is, though, of course, that you are stuck with this grip, and they aren't really the softest thing. However, they do seem to work just fine. And finally, to round things off, if you're somebody like my dad who's been riding around without these, you definitely need a set. I put these on every single bike that I plan on taking off-road, and I've really had pretty good luck with them. They've definitely seen a few spills, and they seem to keep on working. Of course, if you bash them hard enough, they would bend up a bit, but I think so would any other version. These I really like because you don't put the plastic guards on with a wood screw. It actually comes with a regular threaded fastener, so that's definitely kind of nice. They really have a good high quality look and feel to them, and I'm proud to have them on all of my builds. But of course, their most important job is to protect your levers in a tip over, and also to protect your hands when you're riding off-road. And if you're riding off-road near trees and stuff, you certainly would, I think, be a little bit better off spending a couple bucks and some time putting these on rather than waiting for your hand to heal up after you smash it into something. So if you don't have a set of these on your bike, get something. I don't care if you don't use my affiliate link. I don't care what brand you buy. Just buy something. You need some protection for your hands and your levers. So there we go. I think that is just about everything. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know down in the comment section. Again, there'll be links to all of this stuff down in the description and in the top pinned comment. That helps me to continue making videos like this. So again, huge thanks to all of you guys that have been using those links and supporting my content. I've been just having a great time doing this year. I hope you guys have been enjoying it this year, and I hope you continue to enjoy it next year. Make sure you guys get out and enjoy this beautiful world God created any chance you get. If you can't do that right now, here's more videos to check out. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. And happy holidays.